The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sawagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karahanga. Apologies for starting a few minutes late. I can see it's 13 minutes past the top of the hour of 7. We're not usually like that. Unfortunately, some circumstances were unavoidable, but we apologize on behalf of Digitalk TV. I welcome you once again to this edition of the Hotline Show. Today is the 16th day of September 2024. A lot of things continue to happen in this country we all call home, Uganda. Yesterday, we were celebrating the birthday of the president as he commemorates or makes 80 years on this earth. He has served his country, and of course, very many people were right there in Nakaseke to celebrate President Museveni, where he really gave a candid advice to the people. And of course, it's always about creating wealth for themselves. So he was requesting the people from that particular area, as he celebrates his 80th birthday, to join him in the fight against poverty. And he believes that with fighting poverty, Uganda will be a better country. As Digitalk TV, we wish to once again congratulate President Museveni on making 80 years. It's not very easy in Africa to make those years. So we celebrate the president and the first citizen on that particular landmark. Last week, we had a couple of news stories going on, starting with the memorial lecture of General Aronda Nyakairima, as he was being remembered. President Museveni made a couple of remarks, and of course, many people from the gallant NRA, stroke UPDF, were in attendance on that particular event. And President Museveni highlighted an issue that many Ugandans found interesting, that in the previous elections of 2021, the National Unity Platform robbed him of his votes, or carried out what you may call election malpractice. They stole around 1 million votes, according to Mr. Museveni. That's the number that he can confirm. And of course, he said he has evidence to this effect. And anybody who's trying to deny this allegation can take him to court. So President Museveni was candid on that, requesting all the National Unity Platform members, if you do not agree with him, please take him to court. In that particular regard, we saw the president of the National Unity Platform, Robert Chagulanyi Sentam, confirming that they will be going to court. We shall be looking at how that is going to really play out, because President Museveni made some heavy allegations in that particular regard. Still around Uganda, road accidents continue to ravage the country. According to the Uganda Police Force, 61 people lost their lives due to accidents last week, and over 300 of them sustained injuries. This has been one of the worrying statistics that we continue to face as a country, road accidents. So as you drive to your various destinations, it's very, very pertinent that you drive carefully and avoid drink driving, because this is one of the main causes of accidents along the road. Then lastly, but definitely not least, there is a proposed idea, or what we call, what they've called a plan for new cities in this country. Remember in 2020, we had a launch of new cities ahead of the 2021 election. And now there is a new roadmap that has been confirmed by the Minister of Finance, and of course the Ministry of Finance has this article. But we also came out to see the Permanent Secretary of the same institution coming out to say that this is false news. But when you check out the website of the Ministry of Finance, Development and Economic Planning, you will realize that this document is there. So what is the narrative? Is the next financial year going to find us with new districts? According to this particular document, the new proposed cities, not districts, I beg your pardon, the new proposed cities shall be Wakiso, Nakabale, Nakasongola, Entebbe, and Moroto. Now, our question tonight is really, what's the mind behind this idea? If effective the next financial year, according to the Minister, Matia Kaseija, we shall be having new cities. What does this mean? When we look at the old cities that we already made cities, there is Fort Portal, there is Masaka, and those various cities, are they actually cities? We are listening in from Fort Portal where they were saying that they were given a city status, but when it comes to the funding, it has remained the same. So where is this idea going? Is this a political move, or is it something that is going to develop this country? And of course, we have new flight plans for the Uganda Airlines. It continues to shine, really. Uganda Airlines is continuing to shine for the Ugandans. As we speak today, last week we had a launch for a new route, that is the Abuja route. So we shall be having direct flights from Kampala to Abuja. And this comes at a time when we already have direct flights to Lagos, to Johannesburg, and to various cities around Africa. I saw there is another plan for new routes. For example, in Mozambique, we are also going to be doing new routes in Europe. I think something like London and Brussels. So what does this look like, especially for the market of Uganda in that particular industry? As you well know, every Monday I'm joined by three candid gentlemen, one from UPC, one from the NRM, and another one, an independent thinker, of course, who's vying for a political position come very, very soon. What you can do in case you have a question for any of them, feel free to send any message, any comment, any remark at the Alternative Uganda at Digitalk TV. We are streaming, remember, on Facebook, but we're also on YouTube, so you can get us on either side of the media platforms. Allow me to welcome the panelists for the day. In fact, I'm going to start with you, Charles. Last week you were not with us. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Yeah, last week I was unavailable. We are continuing with our tours, mobilizing Banyarwanda in the country. First of all, to know where they are, what they are going through.
Are you a Munyarwanda?
This man wants to divert my head.
First, continue.
We were in, our group was in Mubende this Saturday, still trying to identify. Unfortunately, I didn't go. I had an engagement at university, so I couldn't make it. But painful stories keep coming regarding the identity. And as far as we are concerned, the state, and I'm very particular, not government, the state is of the view that these people cannot have the identification there that is legitimate. So that's why the immigration department issued a statement very recently that they can only apply for naturalization. Okay. But these are Ugandans. So we still have a problem, but we hope it will be one of those determinant factors in 2026. If the leaders cannot cure this problem, then it will have a cost on their political ambitions.
Okay, thank you. This gentleman is Charles Kazooba, the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. I'll come to you, Honorable Ochieno from Uganda People's Congress. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. I'm a little bit puzzled that we continue to have conversations about people who should be Ugandan citizens. And Charles is saying that the official position is that we've got people who are living in this country who are not citizens of this country, so effectively they're stateless people, but in our country. Is that the case? And number two, is it the case, therefore, that naturalization is their next step, and if so, what next? I wonder. Charles, do you mind?
Yeah, I don't mind actually. There are two people that keep playing this issue, and they have disorganized the entire state infrastructure regarding the Banyarwanda question. And those two people are President Museveni and General Saleh. Those are the two people. They have their own personal issues regarding that matter. Now, most of these guys can't even acquire national identity cards. Those who slipped through the net and got their IDs, every time they interact with a security agent, they are confiscated immediately. They cannot access any government program. This new labor export, they can't go. Now, when they go to immigration, they are told that foreigners cannot be accommodated in this country. The question is, the people you are accusing of being foreigners, almost 90% have not even crossed the border, the Uganda-Rwandan border. They don't even have relatives there. They have been born here, they have grown up here. But why all this? There is an argument within the state that this ethnic group, because of its history, can be used against the state by external interests, particularly Rwanda.
Okay, thank you. I think you give a lot of theories. I'm giving your time to him, so
I'll just conclude.
Well, I expected this session is to greet and stop, but I wonder how the moderator fails to control this, because we plunge into debate prematurely. I would have just thanked the viewers and stopped there, but now we make a debate. And therefore, I also have to comment on the Banyarwanda thing.
And you have my 1 minute.
But I'm just trying to wonder, if I'm an Acholi or if I'm a Muteso, how I go around the country justifying that I'm a Muteso? Why would I have to go around justifying and campaigning? The 1995 Constitution lists indigenous community, and in the list there are Banyarwanda, in the list. So why would we again, if you're already listed in the Constitution, why would you, and listed alongside Batesa, for example, or Kumam, would you really go again when you're in the Constitution to campaign, hey, I'm a Kumam, I'm a Kumam, I'm a Kumam? It means there's something not adding up. And the Constitution states that the listed group of people, which includes Banyarwanda, are those indigenous community found as by 1926.
Yes, 26.
On the 28th.
26, yeah.
Yes.
After the census that was done.
If somebody is going to amend the Constitution, Well, I don't know. But already Banyarwanda and acknowledge as Ugandan, as by that constitution. So it's like accepting to say, but Teso are community in Uganda, but they have to go a long way campaigning that you see we are Bateso, but you're in the constitution. So what is this unseen thing that we don't see it?
We should be asking.
The thing is, we talked about...
And that's actually my puzzle.
Why I want us to stop here is because we talked about this issue for a full hour on this.
It means they are foreigners who want to smuggle themselves in some window.
I'm going to start with you. You've not even given us your opening remarks, but please do give us your opening remarks. And in those, I want you to send a message to the president. He makes 8 years. He made 8 years yesterday. What's your message for him, sir? As I'm also going to pick your minds.
Well, if I was to say the normal opening up, I would have said last week was a good week. We had a high-level dialogue with the 26 political parties, and I thought that was civil enough for Uganda. And that is the direction we should go, that 26 political parties can sit and talk, and they are happy, and share a meal. We did it in Bugolobi in a Royal Suite Hotel. Now, about my party chairman, because here actually I should be very candid with my word. Here, as from the party, from Plot 10, I would refer mostly to President Museveni as party chairman, because I'm here in my capacity as a party person. So about my party chairman, I'm so happy about him. He looked jovial, healthy, polished, looking younger. My message to him is to keep the normal exercise and the good food that he eats. He doesn't eat anyhow, so that he lives longer and he keeps guiding the country.
Okay, thank you so much for that regard. Mr. Kazooba, any message for the president as he makes 8 years?
Tell that he should retire from power.
He said that a person after 75 does not have the vigor to continue, but he ate his words.
It's not about what he says or what he doesn't say. Yes. Our position as a country is very clear, and he should know that it's time for him. He should have rested a long time ago, not even now, because the country is getting wasted away. So we need a younger person, energetic, somebody who understands the needs and the aspirations of the young people, not 8-year people. What do you expect an 8-year to understand the aspirations of a 19-year-old? Today we are talking of 80. We are talking of opportunities in cyber. What does the president... The man is still talking about parish development model, 1 acre system. People don't even have land.
But one would say he has technocrats who advise him on such...
Which technocrats? Maybe you're talking of Major here. First of all, the group of Major have stolen all properties from Ugandans. So whom are you telling the 1 acre model? People don't have land. They don't even have where to stay. So you must be able to relate with these young people. You are talking of about 77% of the country. But what you are discussing does not relate to them at all. That is why they keep ignoring his speeches. I can guarantee you, if you made a survey, these days people who listen carefully or even read the president's speech, they are not even 10%.
Some find him a bit predictable.
No, first of all, you look at the speeches he rates. I was reading the one of Aronda, because may I read in my area of international relations. I really get to understand what he writes. But not everybody is interested.
And what
the man speaks like a lecturer. People are hungry. They can't even afford the chapati of 2,000 a day. You are talking about civilization of Africans in Egypt, in where you think they care about that? So the times have changed, and I hope seriously that his handlers should make him understand, first of all, instead of cheering him on because of expecting some freebies. If I could get some 5 million from him or a job. Some of us even don't care about those things anymore. We need a country that has a better environment. The other day, I was listening to General Kalekaiho complaining and lamenting that he can't access credit, he can't get money that can make his business run comfortably. When he was IGP, did he think about those issues? This is what we're always telling these people. When you're in positions of advantage today, how do you utilize those offices? Why do you have to wait after you've been thrown out, used and dumped? Then you begin complaining.
And complaining to Ugandans.
Now, you can imagine there are Ugandans who have been around for a very long time, enduring such a situation. How do you respond to them? Look at the business community. They have instead propped up Chinese to bring the same merchandise and out-compete them. A huge section of the business sector is going to get out of business because of the Chinese.
He's a manufacturer, but he's also a retailer. At the
Moderator, I'm lost about the topic we are discussing.
It is the same.
What are we
He is
discussing?
talking about Mr. Museveni. That's his message to President Museveni on his 80th birthday. You heard yours. So, do you want to conclude, sir? Do you want to conclude?
Now, Major Awich, as a senior party official, it is time for your party to sit down. Stop really waiting for what the president says. Guide him.
Okay.
Guide him, tell him enough is enough. Please, Mr. President, go home and retire. We shall take care of you. Nobody is going to prosecute you. It is as simple as that.
Okay, thank you so much for watching Digitalk TV. You're still watching the hotline. There's also a couple of messages that you should send celebrating Mr. Museveni's birthday. What's your message to the president as he celebrates his 80th birthday? I'll be reading some of your messages in the second hour when we're continuing this show. Honorable Jospeh Ochieno, what is your message for the president as he makes 80 years?
This gentleman is allegedly 80.
Allegedly.
And as Comrade Awich says, I think, and I think actually Charles, 80 is not easy. The guy, if he's indeed 80, has just beaten my party president and father of this country, Milton Obote, by 1 year. So in normal times, we would clap for him.
Yes.
My late father, Alexander Both Idonyo, son of Ojuang, son of Masanja, also passed on at 79. So he beats my dad too by 1. So that is credible. But that said, it is the same Mr. Wich's chairman who, on coming to power, claimed Africa's #1 problem are rulers and leaders who don't want to leave power. And I think 40 years is a very long time. And if this guy, at allegedly 80, one of the best gifts he could have given to the Ugandans, and I would have offered a cake. And Comrade, which one of these days I'll give you a cake to take to Comrade Mukaguta from Ochieno of UPC from Nagongera. You know, that look, at 80, the best present I can give you, the people of Uganda, is that you gave me huge privilege, starting with free education under UPC, free everything, you know, opportunities for jobs, what helped me get guarantees from Nyerere, looked after us in Tanzania. Uganda served this guy and this family very well. So the best I could do is that, well, I've done my bit, and I think it's time for me to go and play with my grandchildren, look after my few cattle, hope that Comrade Awich, when he becomes Minister for Veterinary and Animal Husbandry, make sure that his milk is exported to Algeria. Comrade Museveni has this song of his about export of milk to Algeria. Apparently, economically, that's not necessarily a viable thing, and nobody's challenged him on that. This business that Ugandan milk has got a market in Algeria, no. The Algerians cannot viably buy milk from Uganda. But that's a slightly different thing. So no, that's what this guy should have been doing. But in any case, he could also have said that, look, after today, I've turned 80, I cheated you guys at 75. My next future plan is this. He could easily have gone ahead and said that, well, I'm getting tired, but I don't know what happens in the next election. Meaning, therefore, that he serves, but then he's given a bit of a signal that perhaps, if he doesn't give it to his son, or his son doesn't force him out, at least he'll be there for the next 5 years. I would still criticize him, but that would be some kind of planned phasing out, saying that, look, I've reached a peak, instead of saying that we're still around here for a very long time.
But is there even a semblance for a new leader in his party? A new kind of energy?
I think that would be an insult to someone like Comrade Awich. Comrade Awich is an international lawyer of repute. Comrade Awich is a star. You can see him on national television.
Yes.
Comrade Awich is an advocate of the High Court. Comrade Awich is a combatant who's not even like Museveni. Comrade, allow me to say this for today. Mr. Museveni went to the bush when he was an adult. Comrade Awich, for the record, was a child soldier.
Yes.
So someone like this, here, Comrade Awich, has beaten all odds to reach where it is.
Yes.
What other better leaders or better leader can Uganda have other than somebody like Awich? And I'm speaking specifically to Awich, and with absolute respect. Yes. When Museveni came, what age was it, and what kind of experience was it? So there is. So if it's not Awich, what about Awich's Secretary General, Todwo? What about Nabanja? Although
but there's no semblance for a kind of...
That is actually an interesting point, but okay, let me just stick to this.
Yes, sir.
To which there is this assumption that a leader who should replace Museveni must have some special qualities. What special qualities did Mr. Museveni have? Quite honestly, what did he have? He had a first degree which was neither here nor there. What other qualities? Because one of the things we need to kill post Mr. Museveni is this nonsense that somebody to govern this country must be a soldier. He doesn't have to be. So in any case also there are retired soldiers anyway out there. And those are the serving soldiers who can also part ways and then go ahead and govern. So the idea that there is nobody who can replace Museveni is total blackmail. And I think that is sinking our people into oblivion. So it's not true. So that's from NRA itself. From Uganda People's Congress, me, in my own Ochieno team, in my own team, particularly the youthful team of my team, I can give you 10 young Ugandans, 50-50, 5 women, 5 men, capable of transforming this country over a 10, 15-year group like China. And we can go on and on and on. And what about including within this building? So there's nothing magical about a serving president. All we need to do is somebody of average competence, a vision, sets of values. We can give them UPC manifesto, runs with it. Awich and I and Charles will become the top advisors, say we're picking up a new nation and pushing it in a particular direction, kind of stuff. The army to salute us, the police to do its job, the judiciary to do its job, and we turn around this country.
Honorable Ochieno, my last question to you on this issue would be, President Museveni is now transitioning. He's now growing old, and you've said
he's extremely old.
Yes, there is no semblance for him trying to bring another leader, according to my personal perspective. Then what next? Do you think Mr. Museveni, there is room for change? Can he change to a better? Because you can, according to the circumstantial evidence, he has removed everything that would ensure him leaving power. All the clauses.
It is too late for Mr. Museveni to change anything. What is it that Mr. Museveni could change today? And any sensible Ugandan, worth of reason, would say, after 40 years, what is it that Museveni has not done in the last 40 years that he could exceptionally do tomorrow? But I think there's a nuanced element of your question, which I think also even I nearly sounded contradictory. Really, at the end of the day, the future of this country, post-Museveni, should not lie in Mr. Museveni. The guys responsible for Mr. Museveni's fate are people in his political organization, the national secretary and team. They should be men and women enough to simply say, Comrade Rubana, Mr. Chairman, we've had enough of you. They did that with Blair. They did it with that, my friend Gordon Brown. They did it recently with Joe Biden, and the country continues. Even in Uganda People's Congress, people asked for Milton Obote's neck and many other times, and they pushed. They pushed Olaro too, of course, rather crudely. So they do this in political parties. Organizations. You are becoming an embarrassment to us, sir or madam. Please give way, political parties. But then nationally, whoever, the circumstance of change in this country should not lie on NRA, should not lie on Mr. Museveni, should not lie on the army. It should lie on all of us, the citizens of this country. We should simply say, no, enough is enough. And like Charles said, a critical population in this country are younger men and younger women, people like yourselves. My job, like I continuously do, is to teach and train you guys to become emergent, responsible leaders going forward. So the burden of responsible, who replaces Museveni? This thing about has he trained someone else who groomed? No, it's not his job to groom his successor. It's his job to create an enabling environment in which leaders emerge in UPC, in NRA, and all other political organizations in this country. And their leaders good enough and much, much better than Mr. Museveni to govern this country beyond Museveni.
Thank you. At just 40 minutes past 7 p.m. I don't know about Awich if you have anything to add on that. And maybe for the last, from independence up to now, we have never seen a peaceful transition of power. Do you think we can see it in this generation, sir?
Strictly talking and academically talking, we have seen one. There is a government which was changed, the handover to Bote II. It was peaceful. The election of 1980, which my party's chairman disputed and waged a revolutionary war, that election handed over power to Bote. Did Bote take by coup? There was a handover. There was a government called the Military Commission Government. It was a government headed by three joint presidents of three people. President Nyamuchoncho, President Musoke, and President Wachaulwol. Under a new constitutional was a situation where three persons were sharedly president. They handed over president peacefully, and they had ruled for 6 months. If you want to see, a law cannot become a law until assented to by the president. You can see acts of parliament assented to by that president. The parliament was called National Consultative Council. So they made laws, and that shows you they are president. So, academically speaking, there has been a transfer.
The transition is something you explain, but it's okay.
Yes, it is transition.
You should be able to explain.
Yeah, you should know it.
But you're explaining.
You should know it that there was a comrade, are you saying your president took over power by force?
Of course, I've been telling them they don't
It was
listen.
a democratic
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
So now, there's one question that you ask and the Congress tried to answer it. I think your question was whether there are procedures to be seen in a NRM that there is a way of getting a new leader. It was not so much of who as Museveni appointed.
Exactly.
It was not so much of who. So my answer to this is, NRM is an institution. It has a constitution. There are procedures of changing leadership. So we don't need any other something better than what the constitution provides for. We are going for structural election soon. Our structure starts from village. You elect the executive. The executive elects the parish. Parish elects the sub-county. Sub-county elects the district. Then we meet in Nambole. Nambole, we elect a leader. Simple. So there's no pre-grooming. And in any case, as he says it, I take his comment though, but I think we have really people. He says, he talks well about me. Of course, we all know our competencies. But I am saying there's a method in place which is in the Constitution that guarantees, and we are working for it.
There is no problem. History has taught us that the Constitution
he has not confirmed.
Confirmed?
Okay. I want us to stop on that issue, and I'm going to come to you, Charles.
Are you willing to be president?
Charles, let me come to you, sir. There are new proposed cities, sorry, not districts, but new cities, following these new cities that were promulgated or launched in 2021. So there are proposed new cities that will be starting to work in 2025. Among those cities is Wakiso, Kabale, Nakasongola, Entebbe, and Entebbe and Moroto, according to the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning. What do you think about this idea, sir? Basing on even what happened in 2021 as we are launching the other cities we have today.
First of all, we know that NRM wants numbers now. And they are getting unsure. Each day, whether they will lose people or not. So creating political constituencies, that is the norm of survival of NRM.
But they already have the numbers, though. If those are the numbers
Which
you're talking
numbers?
about. Numbers in parliament, constituencies, most of the constituencies.
If we had stayed with the original constituencies, you remember how many were they?
126.
Yes. Where would NRM be?
I don't know, that's a
Out of
hypothesis.
126, we would have 120 actually.
That is
It would only
impossible.
be 60, which is not ours.
Yeah, so please continue your
However,
submission.
I'm one fella who now stays this side of Entebbe. And there is that road I use always, the Natete Chisubi Road that connects through Kauku, then goes to Entebbe.
Is it tarmac?
I've been seeing developments. There is a contractor doing some work
Courtesy of NRM.
of the taxpayer, not
The planning.
So if they connected, if they did that road and then connected to Mpiji,
That would be a shortcut.
it will be a shortcut, but also make the area very busy. So Entebbe originally should have been a city, an administrative city, where you would have government offices. Generally, the corporate class would be there. Then Kampala would be like a
Central business.
commercial hub of the country. However, you know our plans. The mentality is purely politics. It has nothing to do with the real planning for the country. Kabale as a border area between Rwanda and Uganda and then DRC, it should have been a very busy place. But this is a town you go to and you still find bicycles, you still find people behaving in a rural setting. So there is that problem. If you identify a place that this is a city, what are the accompanying measures you're going to take
But also,
to really turn it into, to transform it into a city? You've mentioned about Fort Potro. I was in Nyakasura, actually. I was head prefect of Nyakasura. And the person who was taught me, he didn't teach me, but he was a teacher at that school. He has been the area chairman for a long time. I've seen him, actually I met him the other day and he wants to come to Parliament. If indeed this is a city and you are visionary, why would people be running away to go to Parliament? It means the juicy stuff is where?
Yeah, everyone runs away. Doctors are running away.
So, but
all
as
middle
a
class are
city,
going for government.
do they have budgets? Do they have sources of income? If they do they have the power? Because they also don't have the power.
You're a student of Africa, and really, when you look at countries, for example, like Tanzania, they have a couple of cities, but you can see that this city maybe is a commercial city. This one, there is a value to each city.
Yes, of course.
What criteria do we follow? You've hinted on it, but please clearly explain. What are we following when we are coming up with
It is
cities?
politics, nothing else. It is creation of constituencies. So they will hide under a city, then create about 100 jobs for other people. You have so many RCCs and the assistants. You have so many people really coming in for jobs, because the issue now is these guys are not businessmen. They depend on the taxpayer. So your children, where are they going to work?
By listening to him,
Yes,
they depend
but
on
that
the
is-
party.
that
Yes,
is a fact.
yes,
Yeah, let's
I'm
continue.
listening very
Let's
closely.
That is a
continue.
fact.
It's saddening.
You go to parliament, if you can get a job today, you will not. You will not. Why? Because there are ministers who have children that want those jobs. There are MPs who have children and they need those jobs.
Okay.
So you keep creating cells of administration day in and day out, and the taxpayer suffers.
Okay.
So there's no planning at all.
Thank you so much, Charles Kazooba, the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. His submission is a bit worrying. Let me come to you, Honorable Ochieno. You have traveled the world, at least I know that personally, and you have seen cities. In your regard, what makes a place a city? He says here, it's politics, business as usual. The same analogy we had on the constituencies being many. He's bringing it in a political wing. What do you think about it, sir?
It's political anyway, but that said, there would normally be certain standard criteria. It would normally be the size, it would be the commercial viability,
Demographics.
it would be the infrastructure, it would be the population, adjoining, it would be the strategic location, it would also be the political status that a country wants to give to a particular area, and that the area genuinely desires, rather than a political decision because you want to please a few people, create jobs for patronage, or win electoral votes from a particular community. In any case, because it's directly linked to, it's got a direct cost, legal and cost implications as far as the exchequer, meaning the treasury, is concerned. No sensible government will then go ahead and create, an administrative burden through political interest when it actually knows that there's got direct implications on the exchequer. Until these guys came from wherever they came, quite clearly we were quite content with Kampala as a city, and if you asked me, I'm not quite sure which town, on the basis of the existing infrastructure, would qualify to advance into a city. But if then we're doing a strategic national development,
Exactly.
and we are looking at some of the criteria that I've referred, Jinja would naturally have qualified as, in any case, as our industrial city, our industrial capital, which the NRA guys tried to break, and they've actually broken it. I think the rest of the country would not complain, so long as Mbale remained the cleanest city that the UPC had in East Africa. The people of Mbale would be quite content with Mbale as a town, with all the demarcations doing whatever it is. And I can tell you the people of Kulu would have done the same. Some people in Mbarara, maybe, unless one or two people want to have a bit of ego, including when some 7 retires, on his way towards then say, I'm going to make it a city. So generally that. But that said, anyway, since nations expand and towns expand and populations grow, I would possibly have argued, as I said, a ginger, arguably, possibly have argued the size of Mbale, which is my regional capital, neither here nor there, for the reasons I've given in terms of cost, indeed, cost implications. Would you do a political thing for Gulu, and why? What did you do for Arua? I was in Arua the other day. To give Entebbe a city status. But that said, as part of our UPC Kampala, Greater Kampala plan, Comrade Awich in the 60s, part of our plan was to create a Kampala Entebbe conurbation, which would have been much more flying than the high-speed link. So we had that already as an economic zone, not with slum towns and trading centers on the sides of the roads in between. So that is one. But beyond that, Entebbe itself as a hub, and particularly because Entebbe was traditionally our national capital for government, and the fact that it sort of hosts State House. It would be a very tempting thing for a small city, and for that, if you give it a criteria like that, it does not necessarily then will not have to apply for the question of the size in terms of numbers or size in terms of economic output, so long as it has the size in terms of political output. What they call the City of London, where our friends, including the Lukwagos, fell for, and I'm saying it for the first time on television. The idea of this Lord Mayor, wherever it came from, I don't know. It's actually very cheeky. So Ugandans pretend, oh, we are Pan-Africans, we are African national, and then, oh, Lord Mayor. When actually the idea of a Lord thing is actually quite insulting to the African personality in any way. But anyway, the Mayor of London, my colleague Sadiq Khan, the mayor of this big city, very powerful political figure, as they are, through their mandates, elective, is not a lord. It's just Mr. Mayor. For him, I meet him and say Sadiq, Sadiq Khan.
Yes.
But the City of London, which is a small historical part of business, had a lord, who controls the commercial business of London, perhaps, on behalf of the Queen and King. And so the mayor is a Queen's appointee. So it's almost like having a bit of Chinatown, but for argument's sake, what is a good commercial hub of ours? Maybe a bit of our, these days, Kololo is no longer residential. So you pick a commercial part of Kampala, maybe Kampala Road. But let's just pick
Kampala Center, okay.
City Center, Kampala City Center, as a commercial hub. And they simply say this commercial hub is controlled by maybe the state, in which case either the King of Uganda or the Queen of Uganda or the President, whatever. And then the administrative leader of that one is the Lord Mayor. So it's a city within a city, but it's a very small geographical location. That's what you do. But beyond that...
Thank you for that knowledge. As you answer in just a minute or two before we go for the break,
I have not talked about a city.
Sir, you're coming. Sir, what I wanted you to just answer is, don't you think these cities will create a regional empowerment? For example, now we know Gulu as a city. Some people have
how have they been empowered?
Moroto, maybe the people from that area can adapt the city status and maybe move
and do what? And then move on, and then claim back them about
because even more money is going to be going there. Budgeting, there's more money.
No, not at all. It's the creation of cities is as much gerrymandering politics as has been the creation of districts and the creation of constituencies. It's basically unnecessary creation of big government. Right. And in any case, purely political. And I only wish people would know. But just a quick thing. Yeah. I was in Arua.
30 seconds.
I was in Arua when a number of people in Arua all of a sudden woke up, meaning the citizens, that, when you have a city demarcation, the implications that you're in the city's area and things to do with the taxes and many of these other things come in. I'm saying, are these the bodies we think about the people pulling back?
Let's go for a break. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman is Jospeh Ochieno. He's Charles Kazooba. And of course, you have Honorable Retired Major Pollar Awich from the NRM. Let's go for a short commercial break. When we come back, he'll be highlighting on the issue of the new cities in the country, and then we shall metamorphose into the topic of discussion today, which is the roadmap for the electoral reforms tabled by the Minister for Constitutional Affairs and Justice, that is Honorable Norbert Mao. Let's go for a short commercial break. This is the Hotline Show.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga, and this show is the Hotline Show. It happens every Monday. We start from 7 to 9 p.m. If you're just joining us, we are on the conversation for the proposed new cities in this country. This comes at a time when we are entering the political season, and some of my comrades here, or panelists here, are saying that there is a bit of politicking in this decision. How true is this? In case you have a message, you have any feedback, any question to the panelists, feel free to just send it through our social media. All the social media platforms, we are there, so feel free to send in any of your comment. Honorable Awich, before we went for the break, you wanted to submit on the issue of the new cities. What do you think of this proposed idea?
Well, first of all, we have had a back and forth views whether it is true, the proposal for the city. It was tagged to the Minister of Finance, my good old boy of Mutare School.
Tare boys, man.
Matia Kasaja. But it was later said it is not true. But you are telling me it is on the web. Let's assume for argument purposes that it is true. Now, I want to say that there's no politicking on the issue of cities, because this is not the first time we are creating cities. We have had city of Kampala, which is a capital city. We have had other additional cities, so there's no politics about it. The idea of city is taken from the idea of urbanization. Our society, like any other society, is dynamic. It is not static. Our population is increasing. Now, you can bring in the element that over time, we are having people being drawn into money economy than rural economy, like being in the village, digging and all that. So as you draw people into money economy, you tend to urbanize. And therefore, even the so-called cities that we now seem to accept, like Lera, like Gulu or Arua, this started as a village. It became a town council, Lera town council. It moved to Lera municipal. It became from Lera municipal to Lera city. So as the number of people move to money economy, and they tend to draw themselves to an urban setting, the population swells. And this population is made of
Yes, it's okay.
civil servants, okay? It's made of civil servants.
Yes, sir.
It's made of business people. It's made of other professionals. So this population are in up in one urban dwelling point. So it depends on how you call it. You can choose to call it a city, you can choose to call it a hub, you can call it a net, whatever it is. The naming doesn't matter. But the point here is a given geographical location with the dynamicity of society, and I forgot the industrialization. These people come to settle in one urban center as opposed to the village. So, what do you do to such a growing population? You put them together under one governing system. You choose to call them a city because many will call it that, but you could even call it a hub or call it a net. So there's no way you're going to object to this kind of development.
But is it, you've talked about organic development that metamorphoses into a city.
Yes.
Is it
Are we
necessary?
seeing
Yeah.
that development in those particular areas?
Yes, I am saying it is seen. It may not be in your mind the city like you think of Berlin. Remember, in some of these developed countries, about 5% of the population are in agriculture, feeding 95% because they have technology. So 5% of the people are in rural areas, producing food for the whole country and exporting because they have technology. So where are the other 95? They have withdrawn to cities. So you will find a city like Berlin. From west to east of Berlin, it's like from Natete to Ginger. That is East and West Berlin. It's a huge city. So maybe what we are thinking of in terms of a city is the fixed mind of the European standard. But what I am saying is all indicators are there that people are moving to money economy. As people move into money economy, they withdraw to one urban setting. This urban setting, we are continuously having industrialization. This urban setting has arts and what artistic development, music, all this and all that. Then you have the commercial people. You are increasingly having the corporate. So these areas developed. Lira started with a Lira town trading center. It moved to a council. It went to a municipality. It is developing. So this urbanized kind of setting is developing, and we have to create it. But we have to create it within the norms. And above all, you have to design the infrastructure, the roads, the kind of houses to look good enough.
Okay, let's say
but you'll call it a city.
Let's say those things.
You'll call it a city.
Let's say those things are there because this government has tarmacked roads literally in most of the rural areas in this country, and that's a credit for you.
Except Nagongera.
So as we speak today, they're there. But do you know what it means when we talk about the money that is going to be needed for a city? The leadership in that particular city, starting from the Lord Mayors and the different RCCs. And according to one of the cities that was launched earlier on in this particular term, Fort Portal City, is decrying an issue that you gave us a city status, but the budget is still for a municipality. So how do we harmonize the money aspect? Because as long as you're talking about the organic urbanization, this is the people. But how about the people who are going to serve that particular city? How do we address the money itself?
That's a topic for another day. For example, we don't only lack money for cities. We have been lacking money for interns. We have lacked money for even Ministry of Defense would have wished to have better helicopters. We don't. So the shortage of money is not only in cities. The shortage of money cuts across. But it doesn't stop us from capturing the development that is coming. It doesn't stop us from having an area where people are moving to money economy. It doesn't stop us from an area that has increased in population. It doesn't stop us from capturing or coinaging an area which has industrial hub. It doesn't capture us from having this population which is in urban setting. What do we call that area X? Do we call that area X a hub, a net, a city, a village, or what? It is a reality, it is developing. For the shortage of money, we have it across. We shall work for it. We shall look for it. But doesn't stop us from accommodating this animal which has developed due to genuine scientific development and dynamicity in a society.
Okay, thank you. Because the thing is, they would have called it a hub, like you suggest, or a lake.
But
But
the
it
name
was
doesn't
actually
matter.
called a
Do not have
city.
made a difference.
And the
Yes,
city has-
I am
has a
saying
reason
the
why we
name
call it a
just
city.
doesn't matter. Why we are calling it a city now, it
If
is
the
the
name didn't
coinage
matter-
that is still used across the
If the
world.
name didn't matter, it would
But
have
the
stayed a
substance
municipality.
is, this is a city as defined by what?
Okay,
If you want us to remove the title, we can even remove Kampala
No, when
city.
you
We
remove-
call it Kampala
When
net.
you remove the title, we don't have this discussion.
No.
Because when we're having this discussion,
It's
is you
because
putting
we have a
and saying
fixed
it's a
mind
city.
of a city in Berlin. We have a fixed mind
Honorable
of a
Ochieno
city
has
in
a
Paris.
submission for
You have
you
a
as
fixed
we
mind in a
enter on
city
to-
of Tokyo. But remove yourself from the fixed mind of a city in Tokyo, of Berlin, and the rest. But our development strategy to capture the urban population, the new swelling urban population in this geographical location called X, qualifies for a city. And we should move for it.
Comrade Awich, you are the lawyer here. All we're simply saying is that city status and the name city come with a legal and a cost implication. Just purely that. You know, and we're saying therefore, and you're making the point, that actually we could still call it a village, we could call it a town. And there's absolutely no reason why we can't maintain them as towns and provide the necessary services. In any case, actually, as I was growing up, because I'm slightly in the older side, I'm now revealing, since we're enjoying 80s, you know, I look forward to 80 plus, you know. We actually used to have from a village, usually the next thing would normally be trading centers. These days people call them centers, you know. And then from there you go to a town board. Nagongara was upon a mean town board. And from there you go to towns and then the city. Now quite clearly,
Go to municipal.
you know, so point really is, if you look sort of around the world, including actually I'll use UK, which I'm most familiar with, there are many big towns that don't necessarily call themselves cities. So provision of city state has got, they know that it has got a political implication and political, not necessarily advantage implication, legal implication, and cost implication. That's what I'm trying to say. So in any case, anyway, we're also saying that the selection here are arbitrary. You know, why Nakasongola city and why say not Tororo? We are simply saying that, well, this thing is being opportunistic and suspect. And considering the fact that we talk about money, is the more reason why we're saying that, well, there's no reason why you should dress up people merely in suits, 10 of them in suits simply because they want to be in suits, when you know that they could do very well with the t-shirts in this very hot summer, or hot season of Tororo and
So
Lira.
when I was talking, had you given the congressman the chance to
He
talk, or it was me
He was
talking?
giving feedback on that issue.
Yeah,
so that you
yeah.
can-
Just
you
to
can
close it.
conclude. Yes.
Well, me as a discipline card, I would withdraw and keep quiet. But yet it was my time. So me, what I'm saying is, there's no politicking in this thing. The continuously developing population moving from rural to urban qualifies in where they have assembled to, according to the size, to what we have already been used to as a municipal in that area or a town in that area, to make a bigger organization. And our diction so far in Uganda, our choice of word is that next level is a city. That is the diction, the choice of word that we have used. Now, for the case of, say, an area like if you decide to have it in Nakasongola, it's because of its geographical choice, but also because now you have in mind a settled population brought up into a money economy. You want everybody else to achieve in that kind of area, and it will work. So it's perfectly right. It's a natural course of development from village, trading center, town board, town council, municipal, city, as the urbanization of population grows.
Okay, no problem. We have people who are watching us from the various cities in this country. Masaka City, thank you so much for watching. Barra City and
Wow.
various cities, thank you so much
Wow.
for watching. Maybe
Poor Tororo.
also-
No one from Tororo town.
Yeah, so one Cambodian Lovens, you are watching from Dubai. Thank you so much for watching, sir. So Tika Alan from Luero, thank you so much. You can add in some of the questions you have, some of the remarks. I know many of you are agreeing with him and him, but please defend your argument really. Is this political? Honorable, this is not political. Gentlemen, let's delve into another discussion for the proposed constitutional amendments. Honorable Norbert Mao, who is now the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, even when he was in the Democratic Party, advocated for electoral reforms. He thought this is a pertinent way of bringing peace to the election process of this country. And of course, in that regard, he has been working with Mr. Museveni, the president of this country. And of course, some of the proposed election reforms or constitutional amendments will be as follows. One, that we shall be using electoral voting systems, that's the technology bit. Then all elections on the same day, president, parliament, and local government. He also proposes color-coded ballots that shall be used in the electoral process. Then to ensure proportional representation, the August House should be having the upper and lower houses, meaning parliament. Then he proposed the ceremonial president to unify the country. And then lastly, but definitely not least, is decentralized resources to the local government to reduce corruption. Now, these things are according to the minister himself. These are some of the amendments that he proposes. He's tabling them in cabinet. Sooner or later, they shall be tabled in parliament. Now, my question to the panelists is, do we need the electoral reforms? Are these the kind of electoral reforms that we need? And do we think, in our honest opinions, that after these electoral reforms, we shall not be seeing the electoral problems that we've been having, starting with violence, coercion, election malpractice, and rigging? Shall these things be history? That's the question. And I'm going to start with you, Honorable Kazooba. What do you think about Honorable Mao's proposed amendments?
First of all, these are not electoral reforms per se. These are governance reforms. And I belong to a group that submitted those controversial constitutional amendments. And this is what we submitted. So it contains...
the camera can zoom in just for Honorable Kazooba to show the people. You can continue, sir.
We were, in 2022, there's a group, there's a group called the Transformer CAADS Association, which group I was the administrator.
Okay.
And I was invited specifically as a thinker. It is a group of those that competed within NRM, but did not make it to Parliament. So they had a lot of issues. They were cheated, so many issues, and they were frustrated. But they wanted to participate in advancing better governance for the country. So I was invited, and that particular proposal of president being elected by Parliament, it's me that brought it. But it is a hybrid, not like the ones we've been seeing out of the country. The proposal states that it's both Parliament and district councils that should elect a president. And it should be 2/3. All district councils, so it is not just Parliament. This business of thinking that you will come and compromise a few people in the Parliament and then you are done, no.
Why not the popular vote? Why not me and you?
I'm coming there. So there are about 4 or 5 proposals, and they all feed into each other, including the creation of the Senate, the upper house of Parliament, to oversee some of the gaps within the lower house, including reinstatement of the presidential term limits to 2, and activation of regional governments. That's why when Major here,
Called federal.
I don't know about federal, but me, I'm talking
You're not
of.
federal, you are a student of Africa. And global
Well, the
affairs.
federal of Uganda is not the federal that we know in the academic world. Okay. Now, when Awich was talking, defending the city status, I was like, there's a lot of confusion in NRM, and they really need serious thinkers. Now, for us, we propose that each region should have a government that is semi-autonomous, that has some of the powers and can control some aspects of revenue collection and expenditure, so that you reduce the burden from the center.
Central government. Yes, sir.
When you hear Uganda agitating, Bunyoro agitating, Nkwale the same, and Western Nile and others, it is because the services can't reach the people. They wait for
Central government to give
Professor Govi to give them handouts.
Yes.
This time we shall give you 20 billion. You go and feed on that. Yet these areas can generate their own revenue and even manage some of it.
They do generate
so that
revenue and send it
they
to the
give
central
some to the center. So those are some of the proposals. Okay. Now, when we started canvassing for support, all state agencies, intelligence, police, President's office, military, General Saleh, everybody sent in their people. And we were really crushed and totally dismantled because they thought there was a likelihood of a new splinter group from NRM, and they feared, thinking that since the other time it started as a reform, then a puff, and it went away, the same would happen. Yet, for us, we were bringing on board a new thinking into the political arena because of the problems that we have. Okay. So why particularly did we promote election of president by parliament and district councils? Number one, in 2020 NRM primaries, more than half a dozen people were killed during NRM primaries.
There was violence, but killed.
Half a dozen
there
is 6
was
people,
violence,
right?
Half
a dozen is
violence.
A dozen is 12.
Yes.
Half a dozen is 6.
Mr. Karuhanga.
I remember there were.
Have you heard him? It is okay. That is what
I
he's
just
saying.
want to be exact with the figure.
He wants
Half
to-
a
yes,
dozen.
but
But
put
he's
it
saying
to
it
the
is
number.
okay.
No, it's the
I
number.
just
that
want
is
to be
fine.
exact. Half a dozen is 6 people.
Please listen to me.
Yes.
I've said more than half a dozen people were killed in NRM primaries, not general elections.
Yes.
And it
I
is
remember the violence during
those
the
that
primaries.
was
But
documented.
the death of the 6 people?
Please.
Please continue.
More would be
Yes.
8 maybe.
No, but just continue.
They even know.
8. But
Now-
not a dozen. Not a full dozen. More than half is about 8 or something.
So
not 12.
so that is
not
okay.
12. No, but we just want to be exact.
Whether somebody
they are getting
dies.
to your number. I just
Yes.
want to
Now-
be exact.
You go to general elections. In our estimation, about 100 people were killed in general elections. Now, forget those who were maimed, those who were tortured, the young people, those that can't, that have even lost their manhood, hundreds. That is the fate of election. The contest for power in Uganda has become so high. Go to the financial aspect. Today, anybody that wishes to go to parliament, if there is no political wave, you would need a minimum of around 800 million. Who has that money? It is the people that have been stealing in the government. Or if you have a godfather or a godmother to fund you. So we are getting crooks, we are getting thugs in the political offices. People who are not meant to be in a political office are the ones in charge of this country's affairs. People with brains can't afford to go there because they don't have the resources.
Okay, I'm going to come to you, Charles. Honorable Ochieno, is there something to submit on this particular issue of the electoral reforms? Maybe adding on what he said.
I don't think Charles had concluded,
Yes,
particularly the justification of having the abolition of a directly elected president. But I still find it very interesting. But since we don't have time, all I will say is that these are chickens that came home to roost. The NRA guys were very desperate to break the constitution to create their own. They went on to design one in which, at a huge expense, wasted of our money, created directly elected president. I find it as a contradiction because at the moment, many people think that the abolition of a direct elected president would favor Mr. Museveni. But at the time, they're trying to push that, they're coming with a new system of direct elected president, term limits to check Obote, age limits to check Obote. Things came on home and come to roost. At the time, Obote was approaching 70. Now Museveni is 80, and he's just going shh, 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 allegedly 80, but since he's going shh, kind of, so we don't know what's going to happen. No, I think these are also another lot of things that if you look at what Mao proposes and then you look at what Charles is talking about, interesting that Charles has got the documentation there, you realize that I'm even trying to withhold my comments because I want to know more. I want to know more from Charles and I want to know more from the Mao side. But if you pick the headlines from the Mao's thing, the abolition of directly elected president, to make it electable by Parliament. I wasn't sure whether they're saying Parliament elects or return us to where we're in the previous under previous constitution, in which the largest party, with a majority, automatically the leader becomes president. So I don't know from Charles whether they're saying that regardless, the president will be subjected to a vote of some form in that way, and whether or not the president is talking about is the president who occupies the office of the president that was occupied post 1967 constitution, or it would be a different kind. So I don't know again whether the presidency you're suggesting is going to be different from the presidency, would be different from the president that sort of Norbert Mao was trying to suggest. In any case, Norbert Mao's suggestion and Comrade Awich was questioning whether or not how far this has gone. If the proposal, as per the headline, even Norbert Mao's proposal is still quite vague. I find it interesting, though, that since we're talking constitutional reform generally, electoral reforms generally, that they put in the suggestion that district members of parliament for women seats would be limited also to 2 terms. I have a radical view that suggests that actually considering the cost of government and the size of government, I'm not actually quite sure whether these positions are viable anymore. One, they're extremely expensive. Yes, I'm saying that if I was giving, and of course I don't want to give my too many ideas to NRA for nothing. One of the things that I would actually say is that, well, we actually abolish, the affirmative action positions, but create a system in which parties are compelled to make sure that in every elective positions there's a quota, something that I suggested to Dr. Bote and became part of the UPC constitutional thing, which was where the mainstream of women, youth and women in the party. That has not been substantially adopted, but if you looked at that in the manner in which I had actually proposed, it was a deep-thought thing that we proposed in 2005, and in fact, partly adopted by a party constitution. But I must say, for the record, one time I was saying it, and Jim McKenna said, I also participated. Yes, Jimmy, you also participated in that conversation. The figure would mean that at least 62% of a core executive would be women and or young people. I've got a mathematics. So if you work out that mathematics and then you compel either parties or push it across to parties or you make it some kind of legislative thing, it would be an argument I can see the lawyer thinking. There are many ways in which you can ambitiously work around these figures and make sure that you level up women's emancipation beyond basically tokenistic leaders. In any case, there's some and many members of parliament who are district leaders, and some of those past and present have been my friends, including a relative of mine. I just don't know what some of them ever did. And I don't even know how much they even impacted in communities. So some of these positions are really duplicating if you look at what happens in some of the districts. I know districts where actually there's a fight between the directly elected members of parliament, directly elected members of parliament, and then district women members of parliament. I think it's a huger wastage of resources that could be mainstreamed, and we focus, like the UPC always did, including the 60s, when we hardly had women members of parliament. But we say we are the party of women, we're the party of youth, and the party of the workers, the party of the peasants. But in the women, you would see that we injected resources and made sure that there was access to water, access to electricity, all this, and it's a limited stage at the moment, but at the time, but to make sure that, well, healthcare was there, education was there for their children, the kind of things that women would care about. So really, you're able to look at these other things and then still deal with the gender question. We're talking discuss constitution reforms. In any case, we're looking at it from a democratic perspective, but in any case, the core thing is how this translates to genuine impact on the livelihood of our people. So there are many more ambitious ways of going through these other things.
To the Ugandans themselves. Many times we believe, or Ugandans believe, there is a disconnect between them and their leaders, especially the members of parliament. Oftentimes they have voted them to say some things that they've gone on to do the contrary. And we take even the little power that these Ugandans have over who represents them, that at the end of the day, this person is going to decide, even if it's not me who wants a certain leader to be a president, but because this member of parliament has entered the August House,
I see.
They will take their.
So you're saying that, okay, taking away the direct elected element.
Where is the Ugandan?
No, but that was argued. That's an interesting point. It was argued, Comrade Awich, at the time that we have a direct elected president, and there we will be giving power to the people. But what have the people got in return of Mr. Museveni since 1996?
He has been winning.
Call it winning, he has been winning, but what have the people generally directly benefited from him? Instead, he has now become Mr. Everything. You see what I'm saying? He's now become Mr. Everything, meaning people have become more of a dependence on him, meaning envelopes from what is going to happen, including when there's a land dispute somewhere in Nakasongola, you find people talk about office of the president. No, it hasn't really. Directly elected presidency has not helped democracy, has not helped enabling of the people. I have always suggested, if you look at the 12 years of the democratic government led by UPC, and you look holistically in terms of both per capita, terms and price terms in global the dollar price terms, what we managed to deliver in 12 years, you can't compare it with the 40 years of NRA in terms of health, education, infrastructure, agriculture, and in the impact in terms of livelihood, including jobs. You can't, in relative terms. Betty Kamye did a very interesting piece that I'm still looking for. When Betty Kamye was still top in FDC, Betty wrote in a piece, and the economists here will be interested, in which she said that that was, I think, between 2000, I think it was 2005 or thereabouts she wrote, or 2007. She hadn't yet joined to NRO. And she was saying that the amount of money that had been given to NRA, both as grants and loans that we had got in terms of forex inward into the country, under NRA, versus the amount of money that came in, both under means time, and the means time was relatively limited. And you see per capita what the Obote and the Amin governments did in terms of evidence for physical infrastructure, you couldn't match it, nor could you actually see where most of the monies that we got had gone to.
Okay.
If you look at from, so if you're going to detail, because it's not about politicking, it's simply trying to say that when you look at the governing structures, what is going to deliver for us most. I'm not quite sure whether some of these reforms take us anyway. But very quickly, I want to say that for parties, there's so many things you can do, including making sure that maybe candidates, like James was saying, that in every elective position, maybe when in shortlist, maybe you nominate shortlist 3, but one of them maybe must be a woman or something like that. Or maybe you could say 50-50 something. Those things work, and I've seen it work in other democracies, and you can actually rejiggle these things by reducing government and deliver it still. Yes.
To answer is more of the violence, because this is one
Yeah.
of the biggest problems we find in the election process.
That's
what does
interesting.
this mean?
Yeah.
Let me come to you, Honorable Pollar, Awich. I'm going to first confirm his statement of 6 people dead. I think it is true, because one of the publications in this country called NBS Television on the 7th of September 2020 posted and said 6 dead and several injured in the process of selecting NRM flag bearers in the 2021 election. Then the topic of discussion on that Morning Breeze show was what can be done to prevent the same in 2021.
I noticed you hadn't believed it at all.
Well, Charles emphasized the negative side of electioneering. I was waiting to him to say we don't need election, maybe we need dictatorship. Because
Which we do anyway.
he really labored to see the number of deaths, the amount of money, and whatever it is.
Because everything
so
matters.
I was wondering his conclusion, whether it would come to say, colleagues, let's forget about election. But he never. So if that is the kind of amendment he is wishing, good luck. Now, I find the debate really tempting. First of all, we are talking about electoral reforms. I must say, like I always say, is that we live in a dynamic society. A dynamic society would therefore mean laws are not static. Laws are subject to amendment, whether it is constitutional. So therefore, I am not hard and frozen about amendment of any law, whether electoral or not. But what I'm seeing here is one proposal by a group. I hope that is a group where my brother Dupa is, from Mamolata. Then there's Mao. Mao himself is so and you can't determine Mao. Why? Mao has said again and again that in his agreement to come to NRM, he was given freedom to speak as opposition. So you don't know whether Mao the cabinet minister or Mao the member of opposition. He has said it. Therefore, until this matter is tabled by Mao, the minister for the government, is when we shall be discussing an instrument called electoral reform. So Mao's statement for now and this one, they are the same. They are like rumors of ordinary Ugandans. They are wishful thinking. Anyhow, what I would think is, we still have as NRM, where I need to be clear what we are. We are NRM, who have got the mandate of the people from 2021 to 2026. Therefore, anything that needs to be tabled need to be at least owned by us, the party. Because it is the party which gave the manifesto to the people and talked to the people. So it is us talking to the people. Where is government talking to the people? Even Ministry of Local Government, with its structure to the sub-county, it talks of service delivery. It doesn't talk politics. There is no commission of inquiry or a constitutional body commission set to hear views. So where is this feeling from ordinary citizens coming from? Ideally, if there was a reform from the mandate holders like us, NRM, we should even first argument it in the party to the effect that we are hearing the feelings of the people and therefore these feelings need to be discussed at least at sec level, then government owns it. Then government will condense it into a government paper called a cabinet paper, white paper. A cabinet white paper, in this case, Mao will take to the cabinet. But everything is still around and about. So for us, we still feel the circumstance is okay. The law that it is fine. The status quo as it is fine. What we have, however, felt is to avoid rigging, we can introduce machine. If this introduction of machine amounts to electoral reform, that is so far what we have picked. If that is what it amounts to electoral reform. But to me, electoral reform sounds bigger. So are we going, why can't these ordinary citizens like the chance mainstream their thinking to us? And we listen to them.
Or maybe you don't have the power.
And why it is our party, we are the one. The government should pick from us to translate into a government paper. It should pick from the ruling party. So the people on the street like Charles and Mao the DP, not Mao the minister, should mainstream their thinking. Because Mao on record, I repeat, he has said he came into the party and he has the immunity to speak his mind. So sometimes you don't know whether it is Mao the speaker of the mind or Mao the minister. But it should still be owned by the party. Short of that, it can't. Because if you bring it without our blessing, we have a cabinet majority. I mean, a parliamentary majority with a chief whip. Suppose we tell the chief whip to whip against the motion. Where would you go? So we need to own it. Now, when you go to the other specifics of amending this, that will own whether, for example, you are talking of directly elected the president. That would just be one of the things.
Issue?
But we,
So that one of that.
if it was brought in the party,
Yes.
the party position is power belongs to the people. An article is clear. It will always exercise it. Now, some people want to argue to say, if the people elect their representative, then their representative will be exercising their power. Still, it would mean power has belonged to the people, but he has elected Ochieno, and Ochieno is exercising his people, his power. Some people have argued that that is not giving power to the people. Power to the people means they should directly participate in choosing. Power to people does not mean doing it through a representative. So personally, I would convince the party to say, let power belong to the people. Don't ask for power from the people. President Museveni was approached by many people during COVID to say, okay, Your Excellency, there's a COVID, please, you can maneuver some arrangement around so that people elect like this. Museveni stood this corner and said, no, power belongs to the people. Whether there's corona or not, let people choose their leader. So, and I see that position still going. Therefore, this idea of electoral reform, it has to be mainstream. If we are basing on the understanding that a law is not hard and frozen. But as it is now, it's bystanders talking. So I would ask bystanders to get a way of mainstreaming their views.
Okay.
If it was, say, a government position which had set a constitutional review commission which has gone around, then we'd be debating this at this time. But for now, the debate we are debating is a debate of rumors and hearsay.
Okay. In this country, hypotheses starts to really become reality oftentimes. But I have Nalongo Kolangolia, man of NRM, stop fooling people. Your chairman is not negotiable. Sit with Tibuhabura. Enough is enough, no numbers. Okay, that's the statement she made. Mwesige Joram Kienjojo, thank you so much for watching, and all the people of Kienjojo. It's unfortunate that someone in studio can't ably understand that the economics of administrative units is bipolitical and dangerous to Ugandans in short and long term. What is a city without policies? Do we need a name or policies or work on ground that affects people's lives? That's a question. Kalyango Musa Mutesasila, thank you so much for watching. He says the status of a city without the infrastructure is purely political affiliation that has no bigger achievements to the local community. I'll be reading Brooke Williams, thank you so much, sir, for watching. Kikomeko, he says we can't fix this country when Mr. Museveni is still in leadership of Uganda. Then another question here to Honorable Awich, before I leave you. My question to the NRM gentleman, kindly define the difference between a town and a city. Thereafter, can you please inform the public that NRM has taken the very explanation into consideration prior to changing the status of these towns? Then Brooke continues to say, I greatly agree with Charles. He should continue exactly where he stopped. No one has given us freedom to speak. Freedom of speech is inherently free from God and not any human being. In just a minute, you want to differentiate a city and a town for the listener, and asks, do you think NRM thought about your idea or your definition of a city and a town before they made this proposal?
A city and a town is more used in grammatical sense of an urban place of a status above a board. So it is its smallness is just a place of urban setting above a board, or what you call a town board. But if you bring it back to a town board, it's still a small urban setting of a reasonable size and amount and population.
Okay.
Now, so it is more used in literal sense, in grammatical sense. But a city, increasingly, is used more in legal sense than in grammatical sense. Okay. So a city is presumably a bigger urban setting with its legal sense of a city, in that it has that structural government system and local government system higher than a town.
You have actually defined it very well for the lady on the studio. Let me come to you in these last 10 minutes, Charles. How do you think this proposal can reduce corruption? Because Mao says when we trickle down these resources to the local governments, there will be reduction in corruption. And how do we deal with the violence? Do these amendments come with an element that is going to deter the biggest threat that we have always found here during elections being violence?
One thing, when I was here listening to Major Awich, I realized that he really doesn't have a lot of information on what is happening in regard to some of these issues that we brought up. This is no longer street talk. Mao was assigned to work on these things, and as a DP, they brought what you are alluding to, proportional representation. And Mao's argument was that people should start voting for parties.
That is as DP.
Please listen to me.
You said it as DP.
Because
so
you see,
which Mao are we talking about?
Major
Mao the DP, Mao the minister.
You could end up contradicting your boss. And that is very unfortunate. You as an NRA cadre, you know how your people operate.
But that is your word. You said Mao as DP.
Now I'm telling you, I'm giving you details of an assignment that is in the process. Do you think Mr. Museveni was not aware that there is NRM party? You think he wasn't aware?
You want my answer?
And did he consult?
Did he even talk to you about these things?
And did he consult them before appointing Mao of DP?
My friend, you should understand how people are operating. And what matters most is understanding the substance, so that we debate some of these things. Other people have brought the issue of reduction of the number in parliament, to around, I think, somebody was talking of 200 something, and that was coming from PLOU, because PLOU also has their proposals. Now, as a country, what do we want? We want a reduced government that is not a liability to an ordinary citizen. Number two, we need to reduce politics, increase economics, so that people can earn. There is no reason why people should kill each other to go into office. Why? I've told you we are getting thugs, we are getting crooks, criminals are the ones in charge of political office. That has to be cured.
I would say it's your culture as Ugandans. That's
What culture?
No.
Moi used to say Ugandans have a of
Number two, we should understand and we should stop thinking just because Museveni is in charge. We must think for Uganda 50 years from today, 100 years from today. Mr. Museveni doesn't have a lot of time ahead. He doesn't.
Okay.
Me, that is why I don't even waste a lot of my time on President Museveni. The man is 80. Are you saying that he's going to make 120 when he's president? No. He doesn't have much time. But as a country, as you young people, what are you thinking for your country? What do you want your country to be in the next 10 years from today? Do you want thugs to be in charge of your affairs?
Let's leave him with that question. Let me come to you, Honorable Ochieno. He did not respond to my question, but please do. The issue of violence, because this has been one of the biggest elements in the electoral process, violence from the state, from political actors themselves. Do you think these amendments can deter this kind of situation that we've seen?
No,
No,
very, very little and very minimally. But I think Charles would have been talking about some of them possibly not being directly. I think as a country, I'm not sure what constitution reforms anyway are going to make a major difference in as long as we have the status quo. And I think one of your viewers had already alluded to that. And we've said this several times that there's not much which is going to change in this country until Mr. Museveni generally gifts us with his decision to retire, so that we have a transition to a new person, new sets of thoughts. I've even argued with generously to our friends in NRA. You can imagine that actually we could, even a transition away from Museveni but within NRA, and say new fresh, is still something reasonably fresh. Ideally, it shouldn't be, because there will be nothing new coming from number 10, rather from Shadow on the Road, from which is Secretary, Floor 10, But genuinely, nothing will change, because in any case, like Charles says, it appears now in NRA and actually this country, including people in other political parties, including some few people even in UPC, they wake up in the morning and before they do anything else, what might Museveni be thinking? Has he got a hand there or not, whatever kind of stuff. So that's how bad it is. But that said, I think possibly the more important practical reforms, notwithstanding that, would possibly not even be these. One of the things I've talked about in terms of electoral laws changes is possibly pushing for criminalization of election violence, criminalization of election theft, malpractices, meaning therefore that if somebody is found, for instance, if a candidate is found to have breached electoral laws, one, they should be in prison, but number two, they should be barred from contesting in elections, basically possibly for the next 10 years, something punitive like that. In many other countries, particularly most democracies, if you're known to have been a thief, if you're, for instance, these Mabati thieves, none of them would be going to Parliament, let alone the fact that actually Mr. Museveni, by the way, Comrade Awich, when Charles talks about thieves and criminals in NRA, he's very right. Can you imagine Mr. Museveni is basically presiding over a regime with non-thieves, and these guys sit around his cabinet and still comes around and says things about his country. And these are basically things that have been verified and established by his own police, kind of stuff. So I think those are some of the things. Now, the the militarization of politics and elections. I think there should be a law that simply says that except for the police, no security agency should be anywhere near anything to do with electoral processes. One. And then number two, that said, the police should not get involved except for the provision of security. I can tell you that one of my elections, which was really directly stolen from Nagongera, police officers were directly party to supervising these processes, and it's open known things. So I think the more we do that, the less we shall be demilitarizing and deviolating the process of elections. I had a case in which I had to intervene between two NRA candidates in one election in which one was an independent, the other was an NRA candidate, you know. And people nearly killed themselves. These guys drew ammunition amongst themselves. I had to intervene, and for me, I was from UPS, and I was trying to tell the people from Pollar that, look, you young guys, how can you get involved in a situation about two very privileged men, many of them are already men, some of whom are already stolen nationally, and you're following them like zombies, and they want to create, you know, havoc amongst yourselves, cause injuries. So, to me, it is finally something to do with mindset change and leadership, and that beyond NRA, that this thing should also come down to political parties. That other political parties away from NRA, we should also begin to learn. If you see what's happening in UPC, what's happening in DP, and all these other political parties, including NUP, that leaders who emerge out of these political organizations should move violence away. We should also be able to respect our constitutions, and should begin to be able to lead by example.
Which your parting shot says?
My parting shot is first, I like to refer to my brother Charles' approach to argument. He still has this old-fashioned argument where he puts a debater on the table than debating the topic. Because by saying, bringing my reputation that I am not aware I'm putting me a subject is unfortunate, because it even biases the views of the people. Because you have left discussing the topic, you are discussing the person of Awich. That is unfortunate. I wouldn't do that. I would rather, if Charles brought something, I would bring a contrary fact to, instead of bringing the person of Charles on the table to bias the views of. I find it an outmoded kind of argument. It's unfortunate. The other thing is that about Honorable Mao, I am repeatedly saying that everybody is having their views. Plow, this other group, even my mother in the village, or everybody is saying. So do we take it as a position of amendment? Everybody, all of us, everybody, like the size of parliament, everybody is talking about it. So I am saying Mao, who has said he has the immunity to talk his views, until it becomes a public document, I will come here and defend it, even if it comes from Mao. But for now, I'm saying it's not clear. There's nothing yet. But if Mao, the honorable minister, like he likes to say, appointed by Museveni, now owns a government document, and that is a government position, then it is at that point that I will defend it. But I still insist now, and even Charles keeps saying that when Mao came, the DP, now he's trying to differentiate Mao, the minister, and Mao, the DP. At that stage, when it becomes a public document, I will own it. Okay. About the fear of me contradicting Museveni, Charles should go and sleep, shouldn't lose his sleep about it. I am a duly appointed director of the party, and I'm trusted. I grew up in the system. So finally, I agree with him about to what extent would an amendment affect the violence. Because even if you say you elect on MPs, already we are having data showing even in the primary there was death. So then how would you change from electing a president directly and electing MPs, and you said you have stopped death? If already the data you are saying, even a mere primary people were dying. So I strongly agree with you in strengthening legislations that directly attack violence. A more robust legislative system that combat, not really whether to elect directly or elect MPs, then you stop violence. It can't.
Thank you so much, sir. That gentleman is retired Honorable Pollar Awich. He's the director for NIM External Affairs. This gentleman is the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. He's called Charles Kazooba. And lastly, definitely not least, is Honorable Jospeh Ochieno from the Uganda People's Congress. It's exactly 9 p.m. Thank you so much. Every woman, man, and child who has been watching us from the time we started up to now, those who sent in a couple of messages, thank you so much. We shall be continuing the conversation on our social media platforms at Digitalk TV, at the Alternative Uganda. Special shout outs to the people who cut off these clips and share them to various social media platforms. You're doing a tremendous job. And from the entire team, I was with Lillian on camera, and of course Ali Bawa is the gentleman in the production. It's 9 p.m. Good evening, Uganda.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.